So, welcome. This is going to be on basically tips and tricks for TNS, going over, of course, like what is an A plus setup for TNS, like what exactly to put your trust in. Because, I say it's a mechanical model, but you don't have to take it mechanically. Of course, you could take ones that you believe are going to work, with bias, whatever the case may be. That's what we're going to go over right now. What does an A plus TNS setup look like? What I'm trying to get at here, guys, is that you want to see the first TNS play out, like we get something like this. And then as the first setup gets TP, you want to see it form another setup. That second setup is the one that you can trust almost wholeheartedly. That's the one that's going to take us to the true higher draw and liquidity. For example, as we move down, there's TNS here. You want to see that one play out, and as it hits TP, you want to see another TNS setup form. That second one is the one that's your A plus setup. So this low overlaps with the FVG. Yes, the FVG gets inverse. It doesn't matter. TNS still played out here, right? 35-point stop right here. It hits TP right here. As it hits TP, what also happens? We keep displacing lower, okay, and then another TNS setup is formed right here. This is the A plus setup. This is what I mean. As soon as one gets its TP, or as it's getting TP, another one is formed. The second one, as it's formed back to back. The key here is you want it to form back to back, as in the very next FEG that's formed, you should expect TNS to form. That's what you're looking for, okay? So once again, mechanically, someone is still going to take this. But if you're trying to move away from mechanically and you want to say, okay, yeah, I've seen Plyos TNS play out, but I don't want to take every single one mechanically because, yes, it does lose, right? I want to take something a bit more concrete. I want to take something that I can feel a bit more confident in, but I still like the TNS model. This is exactly what you're looking for. You want to wait for one to play out, for it to get TP. Immediately after it plays out, or immediately after the draws hit, blah, 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 you want to see it form again immediately after. You can see this is the FVG. There's no other bearish FVG on the way down except for this one. That means it's formed immediately after, and then you get another TNS setup. Now this one was of course a snipe, but it still played out. Okay, that's what I'm trying to get at here. It's basically like bread and butter. The best TNS setups are formed immediately after each other. That is the key here. Okay. So let's see if we can find another example. So you may be thinking, well, Plyo, what you're basically explaining is basically like back-to-back FEGs. Yes and no. We're looking for back-to-back FEGs only when TNS is playing out within them. So for example, yes, there's back-to-back FEGs here, but there's no TNS setup here, right? There, you can't, remember, we're looking for the highs that overlap in this FEG. There is none. To make this one overlap, you have to cut through price action. That's not TNS. That's not what we're looking for. But yes, they are, FEGs formed off of each other. That kind of is what I was explaining, when we move up, we'll do something like this. That's what we did here, except there's no TNS, so therefore you can't get the A plus setup. Okay, we're strictly looking for the back-to-back ones. That is the A plus TNS setup. Okay, let's see if we can find another one. Because like I said, it is kind of rare, but that's what the A plus is. It's not going to be common. This is a pretty good example. Okay, so what do we have? We have, let me double check. This might be still TNS, I'm pretty sure. Okay, yeah, it is. So this is TNS because it's 4 points away from the edge, right? You would long here. It just looked like it was invalid because it's so close, but it's actually 4 points away. So it is valid. 35-point stop. Remember, where do you target? This candle taps, or this candle taps in the FEG for the first time, which means you look to the left. It's going to be this high. This one plays out. It gets TP. But in terms of just regular market structure or just regular bias, where are we supposed to go? We're probably supposed to go to this high. If we're still trying to reach for this high, and in the process of this one getting TP, look what's left. We leave another FVG. And if you can see back-to-back TNS setups, take the second one. Remember, mechanically, you would probably be in this trade and already get TP here. But what I'm saying is, say you're not trying to take it mechanically every single time. If you're looking for an A plus TnS setup, this is what you're looking for, the second setup after the first one wins. It's not just because, oh yeah, it's going to win back to back. It's simply because it's purely algorithmic, is what I'm trying to get at. It's exactly what I explained in the beginning. When we move up in a very clean market, when we move up, we're going to do this back to back to back to back to back. That's just what's going to happen when it's a clean market. And that's why I said it's rare. It's A plus should not be common. For different models, it may be common, but for this one, it's not as common. Okay. But you can see, once again, this one got TP here. Immediately after that one gets TP, in the process of still trying to get to this high, we leave another fair value gap, and that one also has TNS. Now let's make sure that this is a valid setup. It has to be, with more than 3 points away from the edge. It is. It's 7 points. You would enter there. That would be your A plus setup. So remember, if you're using the A plus thing, you're going to let this one play out. You're looking for the second one. The second one is the one that you want, once again. So your entry is right here. Sorry, that's the short. But you enter right there. Where's your TP? Right here. Now, if you're using extra confluences, of course, you could have held for the actual swing. But that's basically how you can spot an A plus TNS setup. Okay, it's supposed to be back-to-back TNS entries. Purely TNS, remember that. That's the key. It has to be both of them TNS. It can't be one is TNS and then the second one isn't. Okay, because the second one you're not even going to be able to get an entry because it's not TNS. They both have to be TNS entries for it to be A plus, and the second one is the one that you want, once again. Okay? And like I said, it's rare. It is. But when it happens, it plays out pretty well. And I don't know the win rate on this. I'm pretty sure it's fairly high because it does work a good amount of the time once you take the second one. Because like I said, whenever we do this, it's purely algorithmic, and it is because we are in a clean market environment. It's not going to happen any other way. Let's look for more A plus setups if we can spot them. This one is TNS, yes, but it's not back to back. Once again, if you're looking for an A plus TNS setup, the back to back one is your best bet. Okay, that's just what it is. This second one is not TNS, so unfortunately you would not be able to take this. Okay, however, this gap does still work. Remember, we're not looking for it to be way later because there is probably some sort of TNS entry up here, right? That's not what you're looking for A plus. You want it to be immediately after. So if there was a TNS setup here, this would be the A plus model. You would not be still looking for another the A plus model up here. Even though it does overlap, even though it is TNS, you would not be looking for the A plus up here. You want it to be immediately after the first one because it's going to be purely algorithmic, like a chain reaction. Okay, like this, a staircase. You would not want to take it further away. So yes, this looks like a valid TNS setup up here for a short. It is. Okay, say we use the lower one just to make it harder. So for this example, your TP is down here. Okay, your TP is down here, which means for the short, you're still in the short throughout all this PA, right? But it gets TP on this candle. As soon as it gets TP, what do we leave? Another bearish gap. This low overlaps. This would be your A plus short. You wait for this one to play out, and then immediately after it hits TP, we're going to get another TNS setup. If you get a second TNS setup, that is your A plus short, which means this would be A plus, and you can see it looks like it runs for a lot of points. Now, the true TP for this, of course, isn't for that many points. Like this is the first candle that taps in the FVG. Technically, you have to target down here for 37, but you can kind of get the idea of what I mean. The second setup after the first one plays out is what you're looking for an A plus TNS setup. Okay. Let's talk about another high probability but not A plus TNS scenario. For this, you would need an indicator like anything that shows you London highs or previous session liquidity. Okay. Remember, previous session liquidity is extremely important because it's going to be a target, and it also is going to be used as soon as we leave an FVG above it or beneath. Whenever we have a TNS setup with a previous session high or low, that's also high probability. It's not A plus, but it is higher probability than just a regular TNS setup. Now, for this example, it looks like it would have truly been invalid with London high But you can still see it works anyways, and it's because it's purely algorithmic. It works much better when you have previous session liquidity with your TnS setup. Which indicator is that? It's called ICT Kill Zones and Pivots by TFO. So if you type in on the indicators, you just type in ICT kill zones, ICT kill, you should see ICT kill zones by Trade for Op. Now, when you click on it, yours is going to look a lot different than mine. So I'm going to give you guys the settings right now. So take your time and screenshot this. I'm going to scroll down in a minute. So it ends right here at the NY lunch. Scrolling down to the next half of it from the start of NY lunch. This is the second half. Okay, and it ends right there at midpoint style. So we're going to scroll down for the third half with the top of midpoint style. This would be the third screenshot right here, ending there at unlimited. We scroll down to the very bottom, and this part is fully customizable. So whenever you see this actually be a valid TNS setup, it's high probability to take. It's going to be stronger than just an average TNS setup, and the reason why is because previous session liquidity acts as a reference point in the market. Simple as that. So whenever we close above this, even though it's not a valid TNS setup, you can still see it worked good enough just for us to resweep these little highs here. And it's simply because we left a fair value gap above these highs. It's simple as that. All I'm saying is, say this fair value gap was a little bit bigger, and then London high actually fit within our rules of it being, 3 points away from the edge. You can take that with high confidence because it should work, because it's just going to be higher probability than just a regular TNS setup. One last thing I forgot to mention is also how previous day low and previous day high are also key spots where TNS has a very high chance of working. So it's going to be very high probability for TNS to play out within previous day high or low when it overlaps with FEG. So a good example of this would be right here. You can see this bearish gap here overlaps with previous day low at the time. It was previous day low. And it's not just any low, it's previous day low. That's what gives its power. So it's not exactly A plus, but it's super high probability. Okay. Now I did want to mention at the same time as this short plays out, it's short here. Where do you target? Since the first candle that taps the FEG has already been hit, this low already got hit, you would then use TNS as your entry to then get your new target. So TNS gets the entry here. You look to the left. It's going to be this low for 57 points as your target. Now, as this short plays out, this high probability short plays out, we actually got an A plus TNS setup that failed. Okay, so I did want to bring that up. So you can see we have this FEG down here. This is a high that overlaps. Even though it's a flat candle, it's still technically a high. So that's, TNS. It is 3 points away from the edge. It's a valid long. Now, once again, mechanically, you would take this and then you target this high, okay? Immediately after that gets TP, what ends up happening? Guess what? We get another gap. Now, based off what I just explained, this should be a valid A plus entry, okay? So let's double check. Is this a valid TNS long up here? It technically is 3 points away, right? And if you long this, you can see it actually fails, right? You enter here, you look to the left. This high is supposed to be your target. Okay, now this is if you take an A plus TNS setup, just based off what I just explained. But you can see it fails because it also tapped into a high probability short. The short kind of overrided the longs here, even though this was technically an A plus long. It's kind of fighting the bearish setup here that's also high probability. So just because something's A plus doesn't mean it's going to work every single time. It just means that it has a very high chance of working. Now, if you have two high probability subs playing at the same time, one of them is going to end up working. And in this case, the short ends up working. But I do think this is a pretty good example to show the realistic side of things. How two high probability plays are technically playing out at the same exact time here. Shows a very realistic example that not every single A plus setup even works. Just because A plus doesn't mean it has to work. It just means it has a higher chance of working. So you have to be very aware of that as well. Guys, I didn't want to make this too long. I just wanted to be short, sweet, and simple so everyone can just understand very quickly what a high probability or even A plus TNS setup looks like. But yeah, guys, I will see you in the next one. Peace.